Hello, today I'm talking about reluctant readers. We've had news from the budget that VAT is going to be scrapped on audiobooks, and I did a little post about it, which just talked about the benefits of audiobooks, and I think quite a lot of people were surprised. This blog is all about encouraging children to read when they don't want to. Reading can be stressful. We all know how important it is that children read, and reading for pleasure is a huge indicator of future academic success. So when your child isn't reading for pleasure, it's awful and it can put a lot of pressure on you all. So I thought I'd run through a few ideas of how you can get your child to read if they're struggling, with the motivation, with the interest. And audiobooks is one of them. The National Literacy Trust did a literature review earlier this year in February, and it said that they use the same cognitive functions to read a printed page as they do to listen to an audiobook, which is brilliant news. My 6-year-old takes in them so many audiobooks because they help him access stories that he wouldn't have been able to, and he honestly can get into a car journey for 5 hours and listen to books, and they give him access to books that he couldn't have read, that might have been a bit more difficult, and he's hearing new words. His vocabulary has expanded. It keeps him really entertained on long car journeys. They are amazing. We download them onto an iPad, not his iPad, but we download them onto an iPad and on my phone, and he can just listen as we get on with our business, and it's a really good thing. So if you were worried about audiobooks not being right for children, they are, and as long as you're keeping an eye on that content, making sure that they're still getting a good view of the world that's balanced, they are a brilliant option. Other ideas to keep children engaged with reading, or to get them engaged with reading, is to give them choice. So take them to a library, take them to a bookshop, and let them just have free rein. Let them choose what they like. Talk to them about it, talk about what they like, what they're looking for, the kind of thing they want to read. What is it they're interested in? Could they find a book that would match that? Try and do it without judgment. It's so hard not to, but we really need to let them learn. And even if they bring it back and they only read a couple of pages, at least they're learning what they like, they're learning what they don't like, and it's all part of their reading journey. It's a frustrating process, I know, but it really does help. And on that same vein, try not to manage their book choices by saying they're too babyish, that they're too young for them. If a child chooses a book, and even if you think it's far too young for them, if they're going to get engaged with that story, that's a brilliant thing. And from that, if you can work out what it is they like about that story, you can nudge them in the right direction. It's about you developing an understanding of what it is they like, what's entertaining them and what's interesting. It's also about content. So I know that this book here made my son laugh loads. It's a flamboyant weasel that wears a brilliant skirt. He's really fashion forward, and he loved it. He loved the quirkiness of the character. And likewise, he will read anything if the word bum is in it. I think I could get him to read a book of 500 pages if it said the word bum in it enough. Find out what it is that makes them laugh, because, there are some ridiculous books out there, and they'll just read it if it's going to make them laugh. So I deliberately seek out books that I know will get a massive out loud laugh from my son. Obviously, because of what we do, we know that it's really important that kids identify with the characters in their stories, and this really helps them engage with reading. So if they see somebody who maybe has a similar skin colour to them, or looks like they're from a similar culture or background, or the mum looks like their mum for the first time, then you will have a chance of engaging them with the story. If those cultural references and cultural markers are visible, and you could have a child engaging with a book when they haven't before. Equally, if they see a family that looks a bit like yours, it might just draw them in. We've had a really popular book where a young lad was adopted, and it's that's his story, in his adopted family, and it's been so popular with families whose children are adopted, to just be able to talk about those issues. But anyway, it's hooked a lot of people in, and finding that kind of similarity and finding someone you identify with really gets them involved. Children often want to be challenged, and they want to look older. They want to think that they're older than they are, and so lots of them might not want to read picture books because they might feel a bit babyish. These kind of early chapter books are a great way for children to get, kind of read something a bit longer and feel like they're getting older and reading something that's much more grown up. And that might be something that they're struggling with. They don't want to be babied, but they need something that's not too dense. And this is a very unchallenging, and lots of these ones are quite funny and challenging, and of course show a mix of characters. So think about seeing if they want to read something with a few less pictures, and that makes them feel a bit more grown up. did I talk about graphic novels? I've had a lot of people who say to me that graphic novels aren't, they don't want their children reading them because they're not real books. Like, they're picking up words all the time from these, picking up stories, learning things about new cultures. I think Akisi said somewhere in, I think it might be Ghana, I can't remember, on Ivory Coast. And so my son's learned loads just from reading a book, which has a character from there. So try and let them read, if they want to read graphic novels, fine. They're picking up words all the time. Books like this where they have brilliant characters, and this one's really funny. It turns out that the dragon's not scary at all, but it's got a cold and is sneezing fire on everybody. It's just ridiculous. Like, I think that kind of silly story again makes my son laugh so hard that before long he's read the whole thing because he wants to know what's happened. What else have we got? If your child has been diagnosed with dyslexia or is struggling, and you're suspecting that there is something more serious at play, then there are a set of books that which are published by a publisher called Barrington Stoke, which are all published in dyslexia friendly format to make it easier for children to read and engage with the stories. So get in touch if you're interested in that, because they can really help a child, instead of being faced with a wall of words, the spacing helps them to decode things more easily. And there's also ones by Henry Winkler, who I think, is he the Fonz? He might be the Fonz. Anyway, he would be dyslexic as well, so it's kind of is a character who, the main character, has got dyslexia, and so it really helps children when they're struggling. Anyway, we've got loads more ideas. That's the dishwasher going off in the background. Sorry about that. Loads more ideas to help children read. But if you've got any questions at all, please give me a shout and I'll get back to you. Thank you.